You need to slow down. I get asked the question of, well, how do I get results? I want to go faster. I want the results to come like that. I want them instantaneously. How do I get where you are? How do I get these things? Well, the actual answer is you need to slow it down. You need to calm down the whole process. I love it as a saying, and it comes from the Navy SEALs. And it's one that I'm actually teaching my kids, and I think it's a really, really powerful one. And that is that slow is smooth, and smooth is fast. Too often the issue is that everyone's looking for, well, the quick fix, the instant results, the I want it now scenario. But the fastest way is often just to do the work. The fastest way to get the results is to slow down and just do it over and over and over again. The problem is that you're looking for the quick fix, so you keep hopping, you keep jumping, you keep changing directions, you keep going, oh, well, I'll try this and I'll try that and I'll do this instead. No, you just need to slow down, be patient, be consistent, and do the work consistently. Because, well, I discussed it the other day. Consistency, more than anything else, is what's going to deliver you the results that you want. Consistency with effort and intensity for a long period of time. That is where the magic lies. It's just building that momentum over and over and over again. It's the snowball at the top of the hill. When it starts off, it requires this monumental push, immense effort to start. And then as it goes down the hill, it builds up speed and it builds up traction, and suddenly it's going too fast and you can't stop it. It's the same with results. Most of what you're looking for comes from that consistent action. That if you actually slowed down and focused on effectively executing the plan, the results would come. As I said, effort, intensity, consistency. This is what is required for absolutely incredible results. I've spoken about it before, and it keeps stacking on top of itself. But my results keep getting better and better and better. Not really because I've astronomically changed what I'm doing. I haven't, gone to some different level of programming or whatever it is. It's just that I don't miss. It's just that I am so consistent with it that those results just stack on top of each other. That I've built this foundation, and then I just build and build and build and build. But, people want to talk about overnight successes. I was playing, I don't know if you know, but I play kickabout basketball. And I had a guy the other day, and he's like, oh my God, you've just gotten so fit so fast. And I was like, nope. Just bit by bit by bit by bit by bit. But they don't see that. They see the end product. They don't see that I've just been stacking on top of these wins over and over and over and over again until I show up and I'm like, oh, well, now I'm winning at a different level. I had this discussion the other day and with someone, and they're like, you shouldn't be the fittest or the fastest on the court. And I'm like, absolutely I shouldn't be. Like, I play with 20-year-olds. I play with 18-year-olds. They should kick my ass up and down the court. I know I was when I was that age. But I have put in the work over the last year and a half to put myself in a situation where I am strong, fit, and capable. That I can do these things. I can sprint, I can jump, I can do all the things that I need to do without ever actually particularly training for it. So one of the guys on my team was like, well, what are you doing to be so fit for the game? I was like, nothing. I play basketball once a week. That is the only basketball-related things I do. is I show up once a week and I play my game. I don't touch a basketball, I don't do anything running, I don't do sprinting, I don't do anything like that. I'm actually thinking of going to start, not for basketball, but just to change up my training and can keep pushing the skill acquisition of being a strong, fit, capable father. But at this moment in time, no. What I do is I lift weights and I go for a weighted walk. That's it. But I look after my body, I look after my health, I look after these things so that at any moment I can show up and do the things I want. But I started doing it slow and I built that from there. Because slow is smooth and smooth is fast. Because if you don't fuck it up and you're just consistent, if you don't change the game plan and you're just consistent, you get these incredible results. And the same as even just for lifting. You know, I've been lifting weights since I was 14 years old. You know, that's nearly 20 years. I'll be 34 in December. For nearly 20 years, I have done a lot of different styles of training across those years. I have done a lot of different methodologies. But slow is smooth and smooth is fast. It applies to the lifts as well. I saw a video the other day and they were talking about it with, I didn't know the young kid that C-Bum was training with. Chris Bumstead, in case you were wondering, who's 6-time Mr. Olympia. And they were like, this is the difference between someone who has understanding of how to do it and someone who's just training. And it was subtle. The difference between their lifting styles was subtle. But, you know, the subtleties matter. And the difference was really simple. The kid was out there and he was banging it out as fast as he could. Whereas C-Bum was smooth. It was slow. It was controlled. He was just perfect. And that's how it should be. And even within myself, I have to remind myself to not... The weight is not the only point. Because let's be real here. I'm pretty sure it applies to every male who's got a, drop of testosterone in his body. We like to lift heavy. We like to lift with our ego. We like the look of that big fucking weight going up and down. But without the proper execution, that weight is only going to mean so much. There's a fine balance between, you need to lift heavy weights. You need to challenge the body and push those limits. But also within that, you need to make sure it is controlled, that it is smooth, that you are intentionally lifting every rep. And it's not just going through the motions. I spoke about this a little while ago. Often the difference in results is in the small nuances. I always talk about the difference between in an RDL, for example, that if you just, with your legs straight, bend over, most of the time you'll load the lower back. That's where the predominance of it will happen. Whereas if you want to get more of the hamstrings involved, what you do is you shift your hips back and you get way more hamstring involvement. And you can feel it from that. Instead of just bending over, it's that shifting the hips back and engaging the hamstrings in that point. It's the subtleties of it, scapular positioning, shoulder positioning, how you squeeze across, all these kinds of things depending on the movement, they matter and will determine if you're just moving weight for the sake of moving weight or if you're engaging the correct muscles. And if we are looking for hypertrophy, those things matter. They really do. But like in everything that you want out of life, if you slow down and you concentrate on executing each phase perfectly, rather than rushing through it and then moving on to the next thing, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. You will get the results that you want. And it's the same concept as, everything you want is on the other side of the work you're not doing. People want to rush through. They don't want to do it. And instead of going, I fucking hate this, I don't want to be here, all that kind of stuff, which is what most people want to do in the gym. Slow down. Either be resigned about it or change your mindset and have a paradigm shift of enjoying the work. But slow down and be like, I am going to be here and I am going to engage in what I'm doing. Focus. Focus on the muscles that you're turning on. Focus on executing properly. Focusing on giving everything you want. Remember, effort, intensity, consistency. Effort is the ability to show up and do work. Intensity is when shit gets hard. And consistency is self-evident. It's continuing to show up no matter what. Day in, day out, every single day. This is how we deliver results. This is how we change the game. This is how you build the life that you want. It's just from doing the work. But if you slow down and focus on executing it correctly, lo and behold, the results become better. Lo and behold, everything becomes better. And you're getting results you couldn't believe. But the problem is that you want to rush through it. You want to jump to the end. No, you have to own it bit by bit by bit. That's why I talk about falling in love with the process. It's the classic one. The man who loves walking will walk a lot further than the man who loves the destination. If you fall in love with the process and you focus on just executing day in, day out, perfectly the process, no matter what, smooth and slow and effectively, in no time, the results will be astronomical, and you'll just keep stacking the results. You'll just keep stacking and stacking and stacking, and you'll be a different beast in a very, very short period of time. But it is the fastest way. The fastest way to the results that you want so badly is just the work. It is just showing up over and over and over again. But we are addicted, especially in the fitness culture, to quick fixes. I was talking about this to a friend today, and she was like, I hate people who are like selling scam shit and work that doesn't work. These programs that don't work. These 6-week quick fixes and things. And she's like, why do people buy it? And I was like, because it's out there. And it does work for some people for some period of time. So people want to believe that they are part of that small group. But the reality is, most of the time people won't do the work. They buy the quick fix, and it's usually on the cheaper side. So they feel vindicated, like they're doing something, but they're not actually invested in it, so they're not actually going to do the work. And, well, it exists. That's such a large proportion of the fitness industry is built around those kinds of things. So people are like, this is what it is. No. What is required is that you do the work. As I've said before, it's something like 99% of people within 5 years will have put back on the weight that they lost and then some. It's because true change comes from, changing who you are. Too many people want to go, I like who I am, even though you hate where you're at, and don't want to change that. So they will briefly change, but always going, I will revert back to who I was. You can't do that. The moment you actually decide to change, the moment you actually decide that enough is enough, and that you're going to be a different person, well, then you have to be a different person and not come back to that again. At that point, you have to decide that enough is enough, and you're not returning to that ever again. And that is hard for a lot of people. That is really very difficult for a lot of people to do, because you have to admit that what you've done up until this point is incorrect. The choices that you've made up until this point have not served you, and you have to admit that you were wrong. But if you want to actually make a change, if you want to actually see the results that you know you want and deserve, means you have to admit that what you've done isn't serving you, and B, start slow, because slow is smooth and smooth is fast. And if you just continue doing the work bit by bit by bit by bit by bit, way quicker than you think it will be, you'll look back and go, holy shit, look how far I've come. Look how much I've changed. Look at the results I have achieved. And that, my friend, is when everything will change for you. So, If you are ready for it, if you are ready to finally put that aside, if you're ready to stop program hopping and continuing looking for the fastest option, and actually realize the fastest option is just to do the work, then comment Demanding Greatness or click the link in my bio. Let's get you into the program and let's change your life for the better. Because everything you want is on the other side of this. And I cannot wait to see you then.